Welcome to the Obvious Leadership Podcast, where we dive into practical leadership insights that are, well, obvious. Your hosts have walked the talk, and now they're sharing their knowledge, strategies, and advice. Let's jump into today's episode and explore the world of leadership with your hosts, Joey and Omar.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Obvious Podcast, Obvious Leadership Podcast. My name's Omar. We got Joey on the other line.
There. What's up?
Hey, Joey. Now, today's topic is going to be pretty sweet. We're talking about leadership and management again. And today we're talking about the difference between a manager and a leader, specifically how managers are really only focused and their main purpose, right, is they just desire results, where a leader inspires results. And you guys are probably wondering, Omar, that's redundant. Like, they're both the same thing. Like, you want to desire those results. And we were just talking about this because it might, on the surface, feel like you're talking about the exact same thing, but the mindset behind it is completely different, right?
Yeah, and it's talking about essentially the journey of how you get to the results, right? Because both a manager and a leader want to get results, right? But the manager just want it, right? They're like, I'll take it any way they can get it, right?
I don't care if it's ethical, unethical, as long as I don't know about it.
Exactly, right? That's what a manager's looking for. They're looking for that number on the paper in the green, above 100%. Whereas the leader looking to inspire these results is, hey guys, just like you said earlier, Omar, man, take your foot off the gas. Let's talk about how we got there. Let's reflect. Let's see how we can refine, and I think that's important for you to do sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, when you're a leader and you're inspiring your team to really get after it, where they're taking the training, all the information, they're actually implementing it. I mean, you literally can get to a point where you're like, all right, guys, we need you to kind of like let off the gas a little bit because it's too much coming in. We can't handle this volume. And that's a different problem to have as a business. It's a really good problem to have, but that's a different problem all on its own, right? Imagine being able to not have to advertise because your team is doing so well at driving business and driving referrals that you literally don't need advertisement dollars the way that you used to, right? That is a huge win. And that's a big difference when you're talking about how people lead teams to success and how managers drive teams to failure.
Yeah, I mean, so that's talking about a couple things, man. When I hear success, right, and I think of a manager just wanting that success, they see that green on the paper and they go into coast mode, right? They're like, okay, guys, y'all keep doing what you're doing, guys. I think we're doing good, right? Whereas a leader, like for me, my perspective on that is, hey, we're doing well. I dig in deep. I'm like, what is going on? What is getting us this success? And I feel like that it does a couple things, right? And I'm not saying to micromanage your people when you're succeeding, right? What I'm saying is like, hey, be really observant, dig in deep, like find the basis of what is leading to that success.
Yeah, I mean, not only find it, but amplify it. And what I mean by amplify it, obviously praise them, acknowledge what they're doing, make sure that the right people understand who's actually doing this. And if it's one person that's really spearheading that initiative or those results, have them take, the helm, have them actually be able to lead the rest of the pack and get that taste of leadership and what it means at times. Because here's the thing, we've talked about this before. Your top salespeople, your top reps are not good leaders. They are not. When they're placed in a leadership role, they start to manage things because they're really good at managing the processes that they've developed for themselves as an individual contributor. When they start to manage their people or manage people, they forget that those are people and they forget that people need to be talked to and communicated differently than one another. And they just see, well, this person is in the same role that I came from, so they should be able to do this the exact same way I did it because that's what's going to get them those results. But nobody is made the same way, right? And it's funny because I was talking about people not being the same way. I was watching a short clip on TikTok about this guy, and he's talking to an older, I want to say he's like a psychiatrist or a professor or something, right? But he's older, and he's saying, me and my sister, we were raised by the same parents in the same house, and yet we were not raised the same. We did not have the same parents, or we have the same parents, but we had different results. And the guy jumps in, he's like, no, you did not have the same parents. You may have been raised in the same house by the same individuals, but by the way you were raised and the place where they were at when they were raising each of you both together and separately is different, not only between how they interact and how they were at their age, but also how you were and how you are based on your temperament and all of that. Like you could have been more temperamental than your sister or vice versa. So they could not raise you the exact same way. And when we're talking about salespeople, when we're talking about taking that person to that leadership role, we're like, well, I did this way, or they did that way. So that's going to work exactly 100% of the time.
Right.
You completely take away the humanity of that individual and actually what makes that person shine and where they can truly succeed at. Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I definitely agree with that, man. It takes somebody just to look past results. It takes somebody to look past, hey, this is this marker that we want to get to really look into what is going on that makes us successful, right? I mean, it could be just that one person that is making the team successful, or it could be a combination of this A employee, this B employee, plus D and F, and it could be all those things jiving at the right time, or connecting to make this whole thing we call success, right? I mean, it could be one person, but also more times than not, it could be the support that another employee is giving that employee the opportunity to shine, right, to succeed. So like you have to be able to understand those things. And I know we do sports analogies all the time, right? But we talk about a running back, right? And the running back gets the ball. Man, they got so many touchdowns. I want that guy on my team. But like the contributing factor to a runner's success are the blockers.
Yep.
I mean, they can't get anywhere down the field if they don't have anybody blocking for them. They're going to only get so far if they're running into a pack of 10 defenders. So you have to make sure that you're aware of what's going on.
You really do. And when you're talking about that, right, that's a great example of being able to help people to want to become better, right? To work cohesively as a team, to communicate, and to have that work on the back end, right? That practice in to be able to do it. And when you're talking about like the difference between a manager desiring results and a leader inspiring results, when you're talking a manager doing it, they're just saying numbers on paper. Like, this is it. They don't care about creating habits. They don't care about creating that culture that everybody that has a bad leadership, bad management is always so after. Okay. And it's true. If you guys are consistently saying we need to have better company culture, we need to have better company culture, it means you have bad leadership. You don't have leadership. You have managers in place and they're just bad at creating culture because they truly don't understand their people. They are managing processes and the people are not a process, right? That's a big difference. And when you got a leader that's actually inspiring it, the team starts to come together. I'm not going to say it's going to be a smooth operation. I've been in that role before. I've been in that exact same seat where as a leader, I'm inspiring my team and it's going to be pushback because it's different. There's always some kind of pushback when you're doing things differently.
Yep.
But when you get those results inspired, it starts to grow not linearly, starts to grow exponentially, because the team starts to feed off of each other. And now they're taking that autonomy that you've given them as a leader to want to succeed, and giving them the tools and the practice and the skills to be able to do that. They will take that on their own and be able to run. To this day, some of the best moments I've had as a leader is walking into one of my stores as I'm doing a visit and just catching one of the people doing callbacks on their own because traffic was a little light, right? And she was like, yeah, I didn't know we could do this. And she did good. She would get people coming in off of those callbacks to create traffic. And that was something that, and I'm not going to knock her leader at the store, because it wasn't something that he was taught either, right? It was one of those where he didn't know what he didn't know, so he didn't know he could do that.
Right.
And that's like a huge thing. And you'd be surprised what small things you can introduce as a leader that would yield large results, because it's done consistently day in, day out without you needing to do anything. Right.
Right. So we're talking about how a manager desires results. And I think if all you're doing is talking about the results, then I think you might be focused on the wrong things. Right.
Oh, yeah.
And you talked about, hey, if your leaders are just doing things and, and just wanting to throw things on the wall and hopefully the success will stick, maybe that's starting with the messages coming from yourself, right? If you're managing leaders, right? So you got to look at the contributing factors. And a lot of times it starts from within, right? You have to find out, what are you doing? Are you desiring results? Are you inspiring results?
Yeah. Are you a leader of leaders, or are you a manager of processes? And here's the thing. There are managers and there are manager positions available. And those strictly should be just to manage processes, to manage the back end items, inventory, all that other stuff. We really do need managers for that. When it comes to leading like a sales team, you need to ensure that you understand how that works, right? Because that is going to be the core. If your sales team sucks, it means your leadership skills suck, and they need some help. And there's nothing wrong with sucking at something if you're new to it, or if you never, like my guy who I told you, it was the callbacks was something he was never trained on, to truly succeed in, and he wasn't even aware the way we could do them. Those small little roadblocks, once removed, make him even stronger powerhouse, right? It's very, very little things that you'll do that will drive and yield larger results. But the biggest thing you have to ask yourself, are you willing to step up and actually lead your people by inspiring them to get after results? Or are you going to try to continue to manage people as though they were a process without any heart, without any personality, as though they are machines and not individual people on your team that contribute to the overall results that you're going to get after?
Well said, man. Well said. I 100% agree with that, man. We are not machines. We do not operate. And I'm sorry. When we are talking to another individual, that individual connecting with another individual, a machine can't do that. Otherwise, we wouldn't have people in jobs, right? We have lots of things like quote unquote AI, right? That can do so much, but it takes
those automated things on the phone, right?
Yeah, it takes a person to connect with another person, right? And all those processes and all those things that you have in place are just a framework, right? Use that knowledge that we've given to get that end result. But we know it's going to be a squiggly line to get to that result, right? It's not a straight line. It's not like you're a robot getting something done. It's going to take a little bit longer to get there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right, guys. With that being said, we want to say thank you once again for dropping in on one of our episodes on the Obvious Leadership Podcast. My name's Omar.
I'm Joey. We appreciate it.
We'll catch you on the next one.
And that brings us to the end of today's Obvious Leadership episode. Remember, every great leader starts with one step, and you're already on your way. Small changes lead to significant impact. Until next time, keep leading with purpose, and remember that leadership is the key to unlocking extraordinary results.